America after impeachment. I'm Adrienne Pedersen. Today on Upfront. President Trump becomes the third president in history to be impeached. So what happens now? We have views from the left and the right from two people who cast that vote.
We see more evidence coming out that this president is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors.
This is the first impeachment in American history in over 200 years that did not involve the accusation of an actual crime.
Next on Upfront.
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront with your host, Adrienne Pedersen.
Thank you for joining us. We begin today with the historic impeachment vote. Wisconsin's House members voted along party lines, Democrats in favor, Republicans against impeaching President Trump. The next step is a trial in the Senate, but late last week, Speaker Pelosi was withholding the articles of impeachment, saying she's waiting to see the Senate's terms. So we're talking to two members of Wisconsin's congressional delegation today about this. In a few minutes, we'll hear from Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher, but we will start with Democratic Congresswoman Gwen Moore of Milwaukee, who is joining us from Washington, D.C. So, Congresswoman, we really appreciate your time. We know you're busy. Now, we learned that Speaker Pelosi is withholding the articles of impeachment. What is the strategy there?
Well, good morning, Adrienne. I don't know that there is a strategy as much as there is, an inquiry about whether or not this is going to be a fair trial. I was just recently over in Qatar, where Senator Lindsey Graham, I heard him say, he's not going to be a fair juror. There are going to be no witnesses. It's going to be sort of like a kangaroo court. And so I just think that Nancy Pelosi wants to honor an honest, fair process and wants to know what the parameters of that trial will be.
How do you make it a fair trial when impeachment's been right down party lines?
Well, a fair trial is that the evidence is presented. And I think that the Senate, of course, has the majority, and they are determined to vote the way that they want to vote. But I think that the House managers and the Speaker, we want our evidence to be presented. And so if the Senate decides to ignore the evidence, that's their prerogative. But we want an opportunity to present it. We want the public to see the evidence. We don't want them to have the ability to squash the evidence, even though it's their prerogative to ignore it.
Last time you were on the show, you said you thought that you could get some Republicans to go along with impeachment. That did not happen. What do you make of the GOP now?
You want to know something? I've had private conversations with them, and they just wanted to get it over with. I mean, they know full well that he is guilty of impeachable crimes. And they think that they're going to just be able to get by and get past this. And I'm sorry to let them know that they may get by, but they won't get off, that history will judge them. And we see more evidence coming out every single day that indicates that this president is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. This narrative that somehow Ukraine interfered in our election in 2016, something that Republicans have seized upon, really makes them, I think, look extremely foolish, and it makes them look like puppets of Putin. And I think that they will pay dearly in terms of their reputations and their future posterity, their legacies.
Just to clarify, it sounds like you were saying you talked to some Republicans who, in fact, wanted to impeach the president. I'm wondering if any of them were from Wisconsin.
Well, then I don't know that they want to impeach the president. I just want you to notice, Adrienne, not a single Republican has defended his behavior. They've accused us of impeaching him simply because we have policy differences with him, or that we're impeaching him because we don't like him. It's true that we have policy differences with the president. It's true, very true, that we don't like him. But this is not about policy differences. This is about a corrupt president who tried to bribe a foreign government into interfering with our 2020 election. And unfortunately, this is part of a pattern of behavior Robert Mueller couldn't, quote unquote, establish that Trump was directly involved in the interference of Russia in 2016. But we know he benefited from it, and we know that he encouraged it. And so this Ukraine debacle is just part of a pattern that the president has engaged in. And so I think that he deserved impeachment. He deserves removal from office. I was so buoyed by the Christian Times coming out and declaring that the president ought to be removed. I'm a very proud Christian today. The strongest part of his base has finally decided to come forward and speak truth to power, that this president is unworthy of remaining in office.
Do you think this will go to a Senate trial?
Oh, absolutely. At some point, we will turn the impeachment articles, the two articles, over. What has not been determined yet is whether or not witnesses are going to be allowed. If witnesses are going to be allowed, that's all the House can expect. Our part is done. Now, we don't have any power over the outcome.
According to the latest Marquette Law School poll, the majority of Wisconsinites are against impeachment and removal. So what's your level of concern when it comes to going forward so strongly in your home state in 2020?
Well, I think people are entitled to their own opinions. I think, again, the evidence supports impeachment. And, our Constitution and our democracy demands it. And so whatever, there are people who are much more vulnerable than I am, who voted to impeach the president because they did it out of their own dignity. They did it because they took an oath of office to stand up the values of the Constitution and our democracy. And I think that, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Once said, it's always the right time to do the right thing, no matter what the public polls demonstrate or show.
Congresswoman Moore from D.C., thank you.
And thank you. Have a happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all that.
You too, thanks. Next, the Republican Viewpoint, Congressman Mike Gallagher on his no vote, why he says Democrats are trivializing impeachment and how the country heals its divisions.
Upfront, brought to you by WPS Health Insurance.